I feel that you act in part as a sort of therapist. Like things will come up in the firm, and me, David, and William, we did not go to school to learn HR or to learn how to be leaders or managers. We're lawyers. So I feel like we come to you with these problems. What do we do? This employee wants so much money, or this one's walking out. What do we do with the turnover? That you act as our therapist, and we literally leave the Zoom meetings feeling better. Are you sure you have no background in counseling? Hey there, hot messes. Welcome to Success of a Hot Mess, where we celebrate the art of juggling life's chaos and coming out on top. I'm Stacey Isaacs, your host and resident rock star lawyer, dance mom, and survivor. We're going to dive into candid conversations about conquering challenges, embracing our unique selves, and finding success in the beautiful mess of it all. I have the pleasure of having Luis Scott, founder and CEO of Eight Figure Firm, on the podcast. And before we delve into some questions for you, Luis, I just want to tell listeners that I credit Luis with taking our law firm work injury rights from about 5 employees. I think we're at like 41 or 42 right now.
That's awesome.
So I'm very grateful for you, and I do find you very interesting. So I'm happy today to have you on, and I thank you for your time.
Well, hopefully you don't have me on because you think I'm a hot mess. I would hate that.
No, but I try to look at hot mess as a compliment, right? Well, first of all, it has the word hot in it. But right. I'm just trying to embrace the mess of it all, balancing work, my band, podcast, kids, all of it. And I know you have a whole lot going on, including another baby on the way.
That'll be 5. This is the last one. But with that said, somebody reminded me that I said that last time too. So this time it's seriously the last one.
When I saw your announcement, I said, "Is Luis did he convert to Mormonism, and is he trying to have a whole bunch of kids, or Orthodox Judaism,
right?
Whichever?"
No,
but
nothing like that.
Well, congratulations to you and your wife. Okay, I do want to start out with asking you a little bit about your background. If you can tell us where you grew up, where you went to school, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I have a weird story. Both of my parents were born in Puerto Rico. I was born in Gary, Indiana, of all places, because my dad went to be a pastor of a church there for a short period of time, a couple of years. Then I moved back to Puerto Rico. I was there until almost 13 years old. In 1995, I moved to the States again, and I ended up in New Jersey for about 2 months, and then in Georgia, and I haven't left Georgia since that time. So I kind of grew up between the United States and Puerto Rico, and I love sports, and I wanted a career in baseball. That's so cliche to be Puerto Rican and want to be a baseball player.
I didn't know that cliche.
Yeah, so some of the best second basemen, shortstops in the league are Puerto Rican. So I thought I was going to be a baseball player, but injuries started happening, and I had injury after injury after injury, and it's just I couldn't stay healthy, and I knew that wasn't the route for me. And in a chance encounter with a judge, I fell in love with this idea of being in the legal field, and that's what really drove me kind of like into the career path that I have today. Was that moment with that judge.
Well, hopefully that encounter with the judge did not involve you being in front of him or her in a criminal proceeding.
I guess I should clarify that encounter with the judge. Yeah, I was not being arrested or being tried for anything. He was actually my business law professor, and I told him that I wanted to go to law school, but I didn't think I was smart enough. And he said, "Why don't you come work for me for the summer?" And that summer internship, it just opened my eyes that there was a lot to the legal profession that I could be involved in. But I really fell in love with this idea of owning a law firm because I met in that internship a lawyer who had what I considered at the time to be the lifestyle I wanted. I mean, he worked when he wanted to. He left the office when he wanted to. He played golf when he wanted to. And I told myself, that's what I want right there. And so that's what really made me fall in love.
That makes sense. I'm not sure I knew that you ever lived in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl.
Yeah.
Do you remember Where?
Eatonton, New Jersey is
Okay,
where we
that was
were.
not far because we would pass that exit on the way to the beach. So
Yeah, yeah.
I am
It was
familiar.
very, very pretty. Some of the best pizza I ever had was in New Jersey. I remember that was one of the very few memories that I have of being there was how good the pizza was. And yeah, I enjoyed living there, and the fall was very pretty. And but yeah, we were just there 2 months from September to November when we were there.
New Jersey gets such a bad rap, and I don't understand where that came from. It is the Garden State,
Right.
but I don't know. People think that it smells or something. Like, David, my husband-in-law partner, he's from Pennsylvania, and he trash talks Jersey all the time, but I don't think its reputation is deserved.
Right.
But anyway, moving on. Tell me how I understand that you fell in love with the law while you worked for, or you were in front of the judge, but how did you come to identify a need for law firms to have consultants?
So part of it was that I wanted to be a teacher originally before I met this judge. I wanted to be a teacher, but then I realized teachers didn't make any money. That they made like $35,000 a year at the time, and I was like, that's not going to give me the lifestyle that I want. I was very ambitious at the time, and I think it came from my dad being a pastor. That was one of the reasons why I love teaching, and I love speaking, I love writing, and so my entire time after I met the judge and I started working in the legal field, I always still had that passion for teaching. Like I wanted to figure out a way to incorporate teaching into what I was doing. And so I thought that the way that I was going to do it was to create a course. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about the course. And in that process of me thinking about the course, I came up with this concept, the 9 principles of exponential growth. And I ended up filming the video series for that course. And so I think it was just like a natural progression. I realized that there was nobody in the marketplace who was a lawyer, who was doing consulting. I had this passion for teaching. I now had developed a course, and it had like all these elements on how to help people grow. And so I just put it out there, and a friend of mine at the time was like, "Sure, yeah, let me coach with you." And the rest is history, because that person ended up growing like from 700,000 to 6 million now in revenue. And I realized that what I was teaching was working. So that was, it happened to some extent very organically. I wish I, could say that I clearly identified a place where I could fit in the marketplace, and then I made a plan, but it wasn't necessarily like that. It was just, I was pursuing my passion, which I believe is a lesson within itself.
Okay, so you wanted to be a baseball player, a teacher, and a lawyer and a business owner. Mm-hmm. And you've basically managed to include a little bit of all of that in one. Do you still play any baseball?
I don't. I didn't. I never really pursued it. And then I have 2 older boys, 14 and 11, and neither of them are athletic or enjoy the game at all, which was like kind of a dagger in my heart. And the 2 little girls, they're not old enough to play, but my next kid, which is a boy, I have a lot of hopes that this one will be the one that takes me to the ballpark every day. But no, it's one of those things, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And a lot of times we want to know the future of our life. And unfortunately it doesn't work like that. And it was interesting how baseball took me to the school where I met the judge. The judge took me to the place where I got my first internship. The internship led to a job in the legal field. The legal field led to me learning how to own a business. And it's like every little thing. I look back and I feel like to some extent my whole life was being orchestrated. But in the midst of all the chaos and the difficulties and the failures, it doesn't always feel that way. But I can definitely see where everything has been connected in my life.
So I did read your book, well, one of them. I think this is the most recent one. It Has to Hurt. Mm-hmm. And you talk candidly, in the beginning chapters about, personal struggles. And can you tell listeners, what is your best piece of advice when faced with things like maybe job dissatisfaction, depression, inertia?
Yeah.
What worked for you?
I wish I had like the secret formula, because man, I think I could probably become rich if I had the secret formula to overcome all of our emotional, baggage that we carry. But for me, it was this idea that came to me one day when I was probably like at my lowest. I went through a personal divorce and a business divorce around the same time. Within a 6-month period of time, my business partnership broke up, and I was going through a personal divorce. And in the lowest moment, I remember telling myself, I may give up one day, but today wasn't going to be the day. And I just remember telling myself that every single day. It's like, I'm going to give up one day, but today's just not going to be the day. So like, today's the day that I'm going to continue to try to figure this out. And those words, I mean, even till this day, I continue to remind myself, no matter how hard life can get, it's like, I'm going to give up one day, but it's just not going to be today. And I think giving myself the freedom, because like a lot of times we don't give ourselves the freedom to give up. We just, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. And the burden of that belief system can be overwhelming, because like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to give up. Well, this is too hard for me to sustain. But for me, it was like the opposite. It was like a psychological trick. I was telling my mind, like, you're going to give up one day, just not today. You just have to hold on today. And then tomorrow I'm going to tell myself the same thing. And that was really insightful for me. I also talk about going to counseling and how that was very impactful in my life as well. But just believing, like, there were people who depended on me. And I heard this recently. I want to say it was maybe Jordan Peterson who said this, but he said that be courageous enough to believe that there's someone out there who is expecting you to be alive. And that is so powerful. Like, in the midst of all the pain and agony and the trials and tribulations that you have, be courageous enough to believe that there's somebody who actually cares about your life. Like, oh my gosh, that just wrecks me. Cause like, anytime I feel like giving up, and I remind myself there's somebody who depends on me, my kids and my spouse and my parents and my family and my friends and my clients, like it makes me feel much more courageous, and it makes me feel like I need to be more courageous to overcome any trial that I'm going through.
That is powerful. I just want to get like a basic chronology. So you worked for that judge. You graduated law school. What was the first law job that you had?
Yeah, so actually, the judge internship. This is a funny story. I was in a classroom, and there was a girl there. We were in a intro to philosophy classroom, and there was a girl there from Nicaragua, and we just started chit chatting because I was, I guess, the only other Hispanic in the class. And she tells me, she's like, I'm going to London for a month. I have no idea how that conversation came up to this day. And I was like, oh, really? I was like, well, that's cool. And she's like, yeah, I work at a law firm right now, and we're looking for somebody to interpret. Like, would you be interested in doing something like that? And I was like, I just work for a judge. I'd love to do that. That was my first law job. I went to interpret. Yeah, interpreting. I was a Spanish interpreter for a law firm, and they had about probably 30 Hispanic clients at the time. And I went there to work for 1 month. That was my role. Well, after a month, they were like, hey, we really like you working here. Do you want to stay full time? And I decided to work. I say full time. I was in school too, but I decided to start working at that firm. And that was the firm that I was working in for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So, yep, I went from an interpreter to basically like a part-time receptionist. Then I did marketing, legal assistant, paralegal, became an attorney, worked there as an attorney for 3 years, then became a partner. Then 2 years later, became the managing partner of the same firm. So that was the progression of that firm.
Now, did the law firm think you were lying that you spoke Spanish because your last name is Scott?
Well, but by the time they met me, the person that I had met, we had already talked in Spanish, but everyone is very shocked when they see me, and they go, "He knows Spanish?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got you."
People are shocked when they see me and they just rattle off Spanish, and I can't really respond.
I could see that
in a respectable manner. But okay, so you worked then for 15 years, and then you went off on your own, right?
So then I went off on my own. There was a slight misalignment on our goals. They were the two partners that I had were a lot older than I was, but one of them actually has already passed away. And so they were much older than I was. They had kids who were in college. They had kids who were having babies. They had kids who were married. I was 30, like we
Oh,
were
and they
just.
made you a partner though?
Yes, well, so there's more to the reason that they made me a partner. Part of it was I was bringing in 80% of all the business, and I had a knack for sales. I've always had a knack for sales. I love sales, and I was really good at building relationships and getting referrals. And so we were averaging about 500 new clients a year. I was bringing in about 400 of them.
And was it all personal injury?
So it was a combination of personal injury, workers' comp, and immigration. So it was a little bit of everything. But I had built some relationships, some really good relationships with firms that were sending us. Like I had a Korean attorney who was sending me a lot of Korean workers' comp personal injury cases. He was a family law. Then I had a Chinese criminal lawyer who was sending me personal injury cases. So I had built relationships with people who didn't do personal injury, and they were sending me cases. And so they, after 2.5 years of me being a lawyer, it was kind of one of those situations where you make me partner, or I'm going to go start my own firm because like I'm bringing in all the business. I can figure this out on my own,
How did they survive before you if you were bringing in that much?
So when I got there, the firm only had 5 employees. When I left, we were almost at 30. And the firm was, I remember on a drive, I was in one of my partners at the time. He wasn't my partner, he was my boss. I was on a drive from our office to Rome, Georgia, which was about an hour and 20 minutes in his little Nissan 350Z. It was a little blue Z. And I was asking him about the legal profession. He was like, sometimes it's feast or famine. And I remember him saying, if we can just get one client a week, I mean, we're going to be steady. One client a week. That's the firm I went into. One client. Their goal was 52 clients a year. And by the time I left, we were signing 40, 50 a month, so it was, but the firm has now, I guess, regressed back to around that. I don't think they're signing 500 people because from my understanding, they only have about 6 to 8 people at the firm. So.
Okay. Now to the good stuff. Your consulting firm, 8-figure firm.
Yep.
Tell us in a nutshell what you do.
So an 8-figure firm, I have now developed what I believe to be a proprietary process for helping firms grow, with the foundational principle of this process being leadership development and helping owners remove the lid from their business. And the lid of the business is leadership. And I think that we as human beings are fundamentally flawed because we have such a big ego that we think that we know everything, even when we
lawyers
don't say
in particular.
It. Oh my gosh, lawyers, maybe doctors too, right? Like
right. Plastic surgeons.
Yeah, right. But it's so true. It's like most people just think they know everything, even when they know in their home, they don't admit that they know everything. They don't want you to tell them what to do. And so what my process does is it helps people see a different perspective in the way they lead and the way they manage. And in my book called The New Leadership Paradigm, How Love and Grace Transforms Your Organization, that's what I teach people. It's like, let's show a little bit more love. Let's care a little bit more about our employees. Let's get to know them a little bit better and a little bit deeper. We're in a new season of life. Like in the 1970s and 80s, you could treat somebody like trash and they weren't going anywhere. But today you can't do that. There's so many options, and people can make money on social media. They can make money on odd jobs. You go to these apps and you can find people who do odd jobs all the time. They don't even have an employer. They don't even have a business really. They just do like handyman work. Like there's so many options.
Or OnlyFans.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Not a lot of guys doing that, but it does. I'm sure
I wouldn't know.
It exists. Good answer. Good answer.
I swear I don't know.
Good answer. But yeah, so it's a different world, and so that's kind of what 8-figure firm does. Is that it helps develop the owner as a leader, helps develop the second in command in leadership, and then we go down the line. So our 5-point process is the ownership, the second in command, which is like your director of ops, then your leadership team, your entire team training, and then community, which is what we do through our momentum calls and through our conferences. And so that's the system, and it's been working really well for people.
So I can attest to the success of the program, as well as my initial skepticism, because when David said, I hired this guy and us three partners, we're no longer going to handle cases. We're going to manage. And, it took a lot of faith, but it took very little time. And in utilizing, all the tools that you gave us, as well as the wonderful masterminds that you host all over the country and getting together with other lawyers and brainstorming, we've seen the growth. And I just want to add, for anybody that might be interested in what you do, we obviously wouldn't have enough time to talk about everything that you have done for us, but I feel that you act in part as a sort of therapist. Like, things will come up in the firm, and me, David, and William, we did not go to school to learn HR or to learn how to be leaders or managers.
Right.
We're lawyers. So I feel like we come to you with these problems. What do we do? This employee wants so much money, or this one's walking out. What do we do with the turnover? That you act as our therapist, and we literally leave the Zoom meetings feeling better. Are you sure you have no background in counseling?
I don't. I mean, I've read a lot, and I've learned a lot about people. My mentor of mine, when I was in my early 20s, this was one of those accidental mentors that you have. He was actually an acquaintance of my parents. He told me one time, he says, if you can learn people, just learn how they function, learn how they work, learn how they make decision making. He's like, you'll become the most powerful person in the room. And so I've just spent a lot of time trying to understand, how do people make decisions? Why do they make decisions? And what motivates them to make decisions? And it's really paid off in my relationships with my employees. And one of the things that I take the most pride in is not the success that I've had in business, although it's been great and it's afforded me an amazing life. But the thing that I'm the most proud of is that people who work for me stay with me for a long time. Like, every employee that I have pretty much has stayed with me years, 5, 6, 7 years. And, people graduate in life and move on to other things. But for the most part, I have very little turnover with people who work for me. And that to me has been very satisfying and gratifying. So.
Yes, that's something we strive for as well. We do have Monica, who's been with us. She was the first hire that we made, and she has grown from, she started as, I think, she did everything for us, scheduling, answering the phones, and now she's our chief operating officer. But I do have people that say to me, like, how'd you guys go from, the three of you at the dining room table to, in such a short span of time? We can't keep up with the work almost. Like, we're constantly in a hiring mode. And I just say, call 8-figure firm.
Well, I appreciate that.
But yeah, at the beginning, I was like, how is he going to do this? But so for people who are listening, and it might sound nebulous, you sent somebody out to us, and that was Stephanie at the time. She helped me build and cultivate a client journey process, which work injury rights, we are really now all about the client journey, and that's what was lacking for us. I can't speak for all the other law firms out there, but there are a lot of workers' comp firms in South Florida. And, how does somebody choose? And we want to be the ones they come to, because we actually really care about the client and not so much about our purses, so to speak. But a big part of what you guys did for us was helping us create this client journey and continue to grow it. You're always helping David with marketing aspects, and, the whole reason I have a podcast, that was another of your ideas. And what else would you say, if you want to talk more granularly about 8-figure firm, what it offers? Well,
first of all, I appreciate all the kind words you're saying. It means a lot, to know that those things are taking effect. And I do want to say, before I go into anything granular, like the customer journey, how important it is. I just recently was talking to a vendor who lost a couple of clients, and when he lost these clients, I knew the clients as well, and I asked him, why did you terminate services, or why did you decide to terminate services? Both of them said, I was so confused about the process. I was so confused about what's next. I was so confused about what we were doing. And I think the emphasis on the customer journey is really, really impactful long-term and impactful at scale, which is also very important. So But yeah, we do a lot of focus on the customer journey. We do a lot of focus on marketing, but then also the predictability of your business. That to me is the ultimate. I always say predictability over profit. And the reason I say that is if you can create a predictable business, let's just say, now this is not going to give you, private jet, luxury vacation status, but if you had a business that you knew for sure was going to pay you $100,000 a year, which is top 5% income in the world, $200,000 a year, even 3%, right? $400,000 a year, 1%, whatever that number is. If you knew for a fact that your business could do that for the rest of your life, how much different would you treat your life? Like what decisions would you make that would be different? And so to me, it's always about predictability. At what level do you want the predictability to be? How do we get you there? And then from there, just live out that predictability. And so what I try to get people to do is let's get you to $1 million in personal income in a predictable way. And then once we get you there, then we can decide if you want to keep growing this or if you want to just figure out how to autopilot your business. And so that's another thing that we really focus on is how do we get that predictable income that the person wants? And not everybody wants $1 million. Some people want 300,000. I recently had a guy who told me $150,000 a year, predictability, I'm good. It's like everybody has a different dream. And so it's
where does he live? Because I need to move to that very affordable place.
Well, he's also very frugal. So, the frugality of people plays a part into how much they need. But, for some of us who really do cherish, I know you guys like to travel. If you cherish traveling, if you cherish having nice things, then it's a little bit more like this particular guy. I think he still drives a 10-year-old, like, what is the thing that you get in when you go to college, like a 4Runner or something. He doesn't, for me, I wanted a Lamborghini. Now I want a second one. So I need a little bit more cash to make that happen. So
right.
It's all about your goals.
And you, at one time, I read in your book, there wasn't always a lot of money. I mean, and taking on, let's say somebody, they have a fairly successful law firm, but it's small. Maybe they're a solo practitioner with hardly any staff. If they cannot afford the investment to hire 8-figure firm, do you offer smaller scale programs?
So currently, if you're under $1 million in revenue, we don't really have anything for them. We just launched something called the VIP experience. We will come in for 2 days and try to at least set your intention for the next year. And that's, a little bit more affordable to do that. It's really made for the person who's trying to figure out how to get their business off the ground. When we go in and we spend a day or two with them, just like figuring out exactly what you need to do to get you from wherever you are to the next level. So that's probably like an intro thing. And then we also have the conferences where we've now allowed some of the smaller firms to come and at least mingle with the bigger firms because we've realized there is a large group of smaller firms, 300, 400, 500,000 in revenue, who just want to be in the vicinity of people doing $5, $6, $7, $10 million, just so that they can experience like, what is that about? Who are these people? How did they get there? And so we're opening up some doors. We are launching something next year. And so this is going to be public information now as of right now. We're going to be launching a online portal for, I guess they would be non-members, but they would become members. And we haven't figured out the price point, but maybe like $99 a month. And it's going to be geared to people basically just starting off. If you're just starting off and you want to figure out how to create your business and take it to 100,000, 250, 300,000, there's going to be a way to do it for like $99 a month. So that's going to be coming in next year.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, yeah, I don't think we've even really scratched the surface of all of the services that come when somebody signs up with 8-figure firm. Like I haven't even mentioned how you have the weekly meetings where all different law firms, I don't usually go to them, but I wish I had the time to do all the meetings, but I feel like I'm always in a meeting. As a manager, that's kind of what life is at a law firm, but you do have those meetings where people can log on and brainstorm with other lawyers, and there's generally a specific topic. Like I said, you have the masterminds, which are not just all business. You always manage to include something really fun with those. When I went to the Austin conference, you had the comedians, which I really enjoyed. If I could have stayed up a little later, I think you guys were going to let me sing. Armando.
I know. I was so disappointed. I was ready for it to happen.
Yeah, I've just I become a bit of an old lady, but yeah, I can't say enough good things about it, and I'm not just saying that as a plug. I'm saying it as like really I'm one of your clients. So I would highly recommend 8-Figure Firm for any law firm that wants to grow, wants to scale the firm, because we all want all the things these days, right? And kids are so expensive. I need like a second job just for one of my daughter's dance costumes, like and her dance career. So it's all good stuff, and I really I did enjoy your books, especially It Has to Hurt. I like seeing the personal side to the guy that's helping me grow the firm. So I would recommend that. So where can people find you?
So they can find me on my website, luisscottjr.com. So luisscottjr.com. And they can find my links there, social media, access to 8-Figure Firm, as well as all of my books. And my newest book coming out, The Law Firm Operating System, comes out October 1st. So we're really excited about that release. And it's going to set you up for success if you're a law firm owner.
Excellent. Can you take us home with your favorite quote?
Oh, my favorite quote. Oh, I wish I would have been.
Sorry, I said I'd give you softballs, and
I have a couple of great quotes. Let me think of something that's more personal to me.
It has to hurt.
Yes. Well, I mean, one of my favorite quotes is actually something I tell the team all the time about just leaving an impact in their life. I don't know the exact quote, but it's you only have one life. Make sure that it's memorable. I'm not really sure who says it. It may have been Disney that says something like that, but I've always kind of kept that in my mind. It's like, I only have one life. Make sure it means something to somebody else. And to me, that's just how I live every day.
I like it. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and everybody check out Luis Scott. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success of a Hot Mess. If you loved what you heard today, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a beat. And hey, sharing is caring. Share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a dose of inspiration. Until next time, keep rocking those hot mess moments with style and grace. Cheers.